Welcome everybody to episode 172 of the Bloody Thumbs podcast. As always, I am Splinter47, your host on this amazing Tuesday. We're trying to be consistent here. We're gonna try to keep it almost every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. But this cannot be done without the goodness, the greatness of my comrade in arms, CH Gorog over here.
Hello, hey, howdy.
How's everything going with you, sir?
Everything is going very well. I survived the Thanksgiving, and we were able to actually have my sister come on down with her husband and new baby, and we enjoyed them. And it was we were a little bit worried because we had to quarantine off one of my cousins who was a little sick, and we haven't gotten the baby inoculated, because we got to wait a little while before they can their immune system is strong enough for an inoculation. So we were a little worried about that, but besides that, we had a wonderful time. And now it's Innocuous Rift, where it's just you with a syringe, like trying to pick which baby is actually old enough to inoculate. Man, they gotta make the surgeon simulator Innocuous Rift.
Reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld, the one where they go on one of the cabins, or one of the friends' cabins, and then one of the ladies that are having the baby was very, very chatty. It's like taking to Elaine, you got to see the baby. There was a doctor that Elaine is always crushing on her. She's always crushing on some guy in every episode, and he was calling her breathtaking, and then he called the baby breathtaking. He called everybody breathtaking.
Seinfeld is a show where they magnify the big, the smallest problems in life, and then just put that on a huge jumbotron. It's like, she has man hands.
Man hands, and then
I don't want to wear the pirate shirt.
A stomach his girlfriend has a stomach making noise.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Hello.
Or George is trying to figure out what his boss said to him when he was he thought he was in the bathroom with him and he didn't want to repeat himself, so he just said, "Oh yeah, I heard you totally," and then just him trying to backtrack through all of this and trying to figure out what he said. I like the fact that it's not big emotional things he's dealing with his father issues, oh no, he's dealing with losing his best friend to a car accident. No, it's just there's way too much soda, or the soup Nazi, or they're real and they're spectacular.
Yeah, and then George, people thinking he was dead because he decided to take off of work because he left his car at the parking lot all the time, so he thought he was always the first one in and the last one out. And then his car got vandalized. People thought he died.
Yeah. So I can't. Where did we get this? The start of this conversation from?
Well, I brought up the fact that your sister brought up the baby over for Thanksgiving, and then brought up the Seinfeld episode with the baby, and that's how it came to this.
How it came to pass, and anyway, I'll make. Long story short, I'm going to get that baby the collection, the whole series collection of Seinfeld.
There you go. I mean, I love it. I mean, I think I have to see the first season, which I don't think that's the season I really watched a lot, but everything else I've seen, because that's kind of their that was kind of the beginning of them trying to get over the hump of kind of finding out what kind of show that they wanted to be. So it was definitely different than comparing to the last few episodes of the whole series. So
how did you feel about the series ending?
It's been a while since I've seen it. Actually, I have to rewatch it again. I don't remember exactly what occurred. The only thing I remember was when I think they went somewhere out of the country, and then it was for a wedding, and then the husband or the wife found out that the husband used to be with Elaine. They had something together one time, some one night stand or something.
That was the one where it was like Memento. It was like in reverse.
Oh yeah. It was like they had that going on. I don't remember.
That was a pretty experimental show.
Yeah, didn't they have a clip show as well? Is that part of it, or is that? I know usually some shows have like you just kind of recap like some of the highlights of the series.
Mm-hmm. I think they did have a clip show. I mean they were kind of they did interesting things like with each episode, and it was actually because the cast demanded that they be in every single episode, that they had to find reasons for all of them to be together rather than just kind of one main character and then the rotating cast around him. They had to come up with like legitimate reasons, because one who played Elaine on Seinfeld?
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes, she was cut out of one episode, and she had she was really upset about that and made it known. And then one episode where George Costanza's actor, I don't understand.
Jason Alexander.
Jason Alexander, yeah, he was cut out of an episode, and he said, if you're going to do that, you might as well cut me out of the entire show, because it's important to me that I'm a part of the show, and just don't do that again. So they kind of had to keep on making sure all four of these guys were in the same episode.
You gotta get those royalty checks.
I mean, he's certainly got to get those. He hasn't. I mean, none of them have been doing too good after Seinfeld. I mean, just Jerry Seinfeld is kind of doing better than everyone. Everyone's kind of trying to do a show, or
well, they're kind of doing their own thing. I know that Julia has her own show going on. I don't know if it's still going on. Yeah, there's that. It was like a political show, I believe, and. And I know Jerry is doing kind of a lot of things here and there. And, I really like his series online with the comedians in cars driving and getting coffee. Whatever.
I have not seen
something like that. It's pretty much him. Every episode is he drives a new car in every episode, and then he kind of he picks up like a celebrity or someone he knows, and they go out to have coffee, and it's just kind of them cutting the meat or cutting the cheese. What is it called? Not the cutting the cheese. Like just pretty much talking about whatever.
Shooting the breeze.
Shooting the breeze. Cutting the cheese.
Cutting the cheese. If
they might roll the windows down when they do that.
That conversation would end pretty abruptly.
No, it's pretty much them. There's a lot of there's quite a few episodes up on there. I think it's on the official website. I don't remember the exact title, but I'm sure you'll find it through Google. But he had a bunch of comedians mainly. He's had
Louis C.K. I can see.
Yeah, Louis C.K. and he had
Tina Fey,
Ricky Gervais,
Amy Schumer.
Just and then he had Jim Carrey on in one episode. It was pretty funny.
Oh, really?
Jim Carrey had a beard going on, and him being weird as always, climbing over his fence rather he could just walk through the door, leaving his house.
With Scientology getting that deep of their claws into you, you got to have an outlet somewhere. So I can understand his pain.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the man could do no wrong in my eyes. That he's absolutely. I'm a big fan of his, and I remember growing up watching The Mask. That was one of my favorite movies of his. Growing up as a kid,
oh, yeah.
The Mask it's still a classic.
Well, I mean, because even then he could showcase a great split between drama and comedy.
Yeah, it was a good blend of both. It was really well done. That movie still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily Son of the Mask. No, not that.
What are you talking about? That's the Godfather Part 2 of the Mask trilogy.
I remember I saw bits and pieces of that, and I was just disgusted. And I remember one of the highlights. If we ever do a top 10, like probably the worst things of E3, I remember Jamie Kennedy was doing some kind of conference or panel. One of the E3s. It was so surreal.
He was just insulting everyone, and he was obviously didn't want to be there. It wasn't funny, and it was just like Jamie Kennedy. Like, well, of course. I mean, what was the show where it's like you've been ex Jamie Kennedy?
One of those shows. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
there was that, and then I don't know. I watched the reason I remember that is I watched the video of the top fail moments of E3, and that was one of them. And obviously one of our favorite ones, which I don't think is a fail, is Mr. Caffeine.
Mr. Caffeine certainly deserved. I'm surprised he's not more of a meme. Was it like?
I think he had his like 15 minutes of meme.
He did, but it's not as fondly remembered. Yeah, it wasn't as fondly remembered as Giant Enemy Crab or just like maybe like the fake Star Wars Kinect kids. It seemed like Mr. Coffee had his fame and then just immediately burnt out.
Yeah, there were some other highlights. I'm actually gonna look that up. That video was pretty good. It's pretty good summarization. I can't remember. I wish we had more of those. Honestly, it definitely make E3 a bit more fun to watch. I mean, I remember we had those moments we talked about back then. We were there to
see it live,
to see it live and experience it. I know we did. I don't know if it happened on any of these. I know we did one time. We did a live reaction to one of the E3s a while back.
Oh, yeah,
that was a lot of fun. But I don't remember if that happened. If one of those terrible moments happened in there.
No, it did. I think it was actually the Star Wars Kinect kid that we were just like,
oh yeah,
reacting to live.
The kids overreacting on E3.
I can't remember if we were talking about Project Milo at the time.
Well, there was kind of that. Some of the mainly just the Kinect stuff. All
right.
the cringeworthy one. I'll show you. It's in this video somewhere. But I'll look up the timeline.
Mm.
It was the Kinect football one. That was the worst.
Good lord, yeah.
Live reactions right here. I'll try to turn this down. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this.
All right, so let's get in and navigate the dashboard.
There's Kudo. Remember what he's like? You want to know what the bottom of Avatar's shoe looks like? And then he just shows it.
There are so many wonderful things like oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that one. It was Modern Warfare 3 where the controller disconnected right in the middle of it all, or Shigeru Miyamoto doing the crossbow challenge
right.
for Wii U Land, I think, and for some reason like it wouldn't connect.
Most of these cringeworthy ones are like Kinect. So I wish they bring it back just for these. Oh, this terrible acting one where they're.
Oh my god.
Mr. Caffeine right here.
There's like the lack of sync between the actors and the Double Fine Sesame Street game. That is just wonderful.
Boy.
Mr. Caffeine. Oh god, just like what heroin alley did they pick this guy out of?
I want to interview him.
No, don't bring that evil into our house.
I'm gonna send him a tweet and see if he wants to be a guest on the podcast.
He's just gonna say go to hell. Wait, what was? Oh my god, no, I do remember one where they were talking about the PlayStation Vita. I think we were watching it live, and people were, it's like, okay, so it's going to be this in the United States, it's going to be this much of a price for England, we're going to be submitting like 17 new games at the beginning, and then like have a couple of them follow after the months, and then they said, oh, and we're going to be partnering with AT&T for the wireless service, and everyone was just like, oh god.
Everyone started booing.
People started booing. It's like
I haven't heard anything from AT&T in a while. I thought they went out of business.
I thought so as well, but apparently they're no. I hadn't heard from them in a while because they're like AOL, where they just keep the people who just are too lazy to switch, keep giving them money, regardless of how shitty the service is.
Yeah. A lot of, I guess because of it, you get a lot of, maybe they maybe get good deals on it on
Do they
iPhones
even know
or something.
that it's the 21st century anymore?
It's crazy. But obviously that was a cool little video. I put that in the description of the show. But that none of these pale in comparison to that Konami conference. Konami conference is
No, Konami conference. That was. I feel like awkward watching it. I can't imagine what it was like to watching it live.
Or being in the audience.
being the audience, like being the people who represented him, trying to convince people to do it. I even felt like there was probably like a sphere of awkwardness like generating throughout the entire convention, where suddenly like someone felt like, man, I feel just not comfortable being here. Like, because Konami is here.
Yeah, it was quite something there. It was just, I can't describe it, but it's like the Ring. You can't look away.
God. It's if you watch it, you will certainly die from it because there's. Okay, I'm not even gonna look. This is so freaking awkward. There's like the guy who's like going to extreme sports, and like he's obviously waiting for like the audience to laugh or clap and applause them, and he's just like silently sitting there. It's like extreme, and you pray for death.
It was definitely
somebody in that room, either as a distraction or for you, so you don't need to be there anymore.
I was expecting someone to commit seppuku over there.
Oh my god!
It's like at the end of the Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
I love Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. I gotta admit, the Japanese accents in that game have not aged well.
No, they were pretty bad. They weren't necessarily. They could definitely be interpreted as a little racial right there.
Yes, indeed, especially with the. I don't think there's ever been a Japanese accent done with an English accent by a white actor that hasn't been offensive. Where you just feel awkward saying, like, even when Japanese actors try to speak English with a Japanese accent in the United States, like for instance Ken Watanabe in Godzilla or in the new Transformers film, Age of Extinction, it still sounded racist. Like, I know it's a Japanese actor saying it, but like he's given such bad lines of dialogue, it isn't helping that it's coming across as like, oh boy, this is offensive to your entire people.
Yeah, they weren't necessarily great. Even all around, there was really not one that stood out as a kind of a decent performance. Even considering like our favorite scene, one of our favorite scenes from Chaos Theory was when you grab a guy. After he's talked about how his family was killed by ninjas, and then he's just, you grab him and he's like, "Oh, you are a ninja, come to finish the job."
It's like, wait a minute, why would you say that in English if you didn't even know if he was English? He just naturally assumes that you speak English like him.
That's true. That's very true. Because most of the time, any of the dialogues that is initiated by Sam is usually just like holding the knife close to his throat and he starts talking. So that is definitely a good point. Those small things, they always kind of take you off sometimes, especially with either video games or movies where they go on to foreign countries, but everyone speaks like perfect English and.
Oh yeah, with an accent.
Yeah,
with a Rastafarian accent. They don't even get like the accent right.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely one of the things I appreciated, and that they put so much detail in, especially like in Max Payne 3, that they did that when they were in Brazil. Like, everyone was speaking in that country's language, and that it wasn't necessarily ever interpreted for you. I don't think it was able to be interpreted in a way, or maybe I think it could if you had the subtitles on. I don't recall. But at least they went above and beyond to make it feel more authentic, and that you feel the same way that Max feels. He's more definitely like a foreigner in this like just crazy country. where the law is nowhere to be found.
I did enjoy that aspect the most, the fish out of water Max Payne 3 storyline, and I do like the fact that in order to have a more serious Splinter Cell game, they also did that, where it was like in Conviction as well as Blacklist, they decided to have them speak their native language, like Arabic or Spanish whenever they went to a different country, or French, and but I would like that little Easter egg where it's like you can turn on the accents that are English language, but with possibly interpretationally insulting accents for these characters.
DLC.
Day one DLC.
With the purchase of a season pass.
Oh, jeez. I'm sorry, are you EA with Star Wars Battlefront, who locked away 70% of the game through season passes?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's EA. I'm not really surprised, honestly.
No. I thought they were getting better.
You thought they were? I think they were getting by under the coattails of Konami's terrible PR, and it's like, maybe we could sneak this in. Everyone's forgetting about us and mostly focusing. People expect more bad for Konami nowadays than us. I think we can get by. We can get past this.
So it was EA. No, I'm sorry. Konami is Rob Ford to EA's Anthony Weiner, providing such a larger scandal that people will forget about you fairly quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, forgot about it now.
Exactly. I'd like to forget about a lot of things these people did, include a lot of politicians in this country not very happy,
right,
with any of them. And so we come to the end of the year. We have a lot of great games.
Absolutely, definitely, definitely a lot of great games. I mean, it's hard to name just one. I mean, there's like more than a handful of really great titles out this year. A good chunk of them I'm interested in playing, but I have not played them yet. And the other ones we played, and we definitely thoroughly enjoyed them. We definitely want to get these get this going here. We're gonna go. I guess the thing we could do is we'll go ahead and maybe start announcing maybe some categories that we're probably going to be discussing primarily. And
this is just preliminary beta stuff.
Absolutely, it's going to be more of our. We'll have a more like official list, and as the weeks come before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be hopefully getting some more people involved and kind of get this going. All things are in the works, but we definitely have some interesting nominees for this year, and you had a chance to write down a couple of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Best visual presentation, best music,
right?
Best adventure game, best re-release, because we have several, which includes re-releases for new generation consoles as well as updates on old ones like the Uncharted Collection or Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Best new game.
Mm-hmm.
Best game overall. And that just kind of at the top of my head. And I was thinking,
sure. Yeah. I mean, I was
thinking best shooter, but there aren't actually a lot of shooters out there that I think would be really
honestly
deserve.
Yeah, honestly, I can't think of a whole handful. I mean, other than like the obvious ones, which I really haven't played, or I can't really consider them to be part of the list, because they're always just because they're there doesn't mean that they have to be in the list. That's the way I see it. But I know that there's Call of Duty as always, and then trying to think of something else. I mean, I guess you could consider
Halo 5.
Halo 5. Did Destiny come out this year?
Destiny did not come out this year. They came out last year.
I feel like it did. I don't know.
Yeah, I've played it so little that I feel like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, once I beat that campaign, I haven't touched it since. It's it's crazy disappointing. That game was for me.
That could definitely be in a discussion of. Also, I think we're thinking about having a roundtable discussion, ladies and gentlemen, with some other of our affiliates, and discuss kind of our personal feelings on not just the best games of the year, but also of the biggest surprises, biggest controversies, biggest disappointments, and just like industry-wide things that happened. We can talk about the fact that the Payday 2 developers decided to include microtransactions after specifically saying they wouldn't include microtransactions because to hell with transparency and honesty. Well, at least they apologized for it. But there's always something to talk about with the video game industry.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some.
All that money going around.
Yeah, there's definitely some instances that we can add onto
it.
Oh,
Konami.
There's the Konami, and then there's the EA shenanigans with the Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh jeez,
yeah. And then there's the Evolve as well. They kind of had that same similar.
Oh my gosh,
issue too, with the whole DLC and everything.
Yeah, no one
goes unscathed in this round table here. So we'll definitely have more detailed list as the time goes forward. By the end of the year, we'll definitely have something up before the end of the year. Hopefully, sometime this month. I'm definitely gonna be putting together some nominees in my list together as well. So definitely kind of having more refined and polished. And if all goes well, we hopefully have that round table. If not, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with our Bloody Thumbs Awards. Get that going.
Oh yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do either. I just more than anything, I just like to talk about the year in review.
Absolutely. I already know what I have my choice set for Game of the Year. I've decided.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it might be the same as mine. But let's not announce it here. It's going to be Arkham Knight, as we all know.
Oh.
It is the game we've all been waiting for.
Oh, man. It's just like Destiny. I forgot it came out this year.
Yeah, it isn't... It's weird, because like with Arkham City, it was always in the back of your mind, just like, oh yeah, this game came out, we're going to be enjoying it, we're going to be talking about it at the end of the year. It might not win Game of the Year, but it certainly will probably be a strong contender. And then just in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'd put it in my disappointing games of the year for sure.
Biggest disappointment personally is that they didn't continue Dark Dreams Don't Die Episode 3.
Oh shit! I know you're bummed out.
Oh, I spammed Swery65 and Microsoft. Just like, come on, guys, you know you want to do it. I'd love you forever.
Oh, trust me, I'd probably do the same thing if I had played it. I probably would have done the same thing. We're both such a big fan of Deadly Premonition, and with him coming out with something new, we were just kind of foaming at the mouth. It was just wanting more content from Swery65 and pick out his crazy brain.
And apparently, like, that was the only game that was genuinely better with Kinect. And then Microsoft continued not to continue with it. Like, are you guys... Come on. It's not that expensive of a game to make. It is obvious. It's not obviously like a Gears of War or a Halo or even an Ori and the Blind Forest. Come on, guys. You're better than this.
Yeah, it was definitely initially one of their main games that they were really showcasing the most and promising, air quotes, this game as a feature with the Kinect and as you said, and I've heard from various sources that it was actually pretty good on the Kinect. It's just that the whole Kinect support just died out before the game came out, and then they just went ahead and quickly released a
PC port,
an option, PC port, which is really great, a PC port, and also the option to play the game with the controller as well. So there you go. That's how much confidence they had.
Yeah.
But it did surprisingly well for the game that coming from a studio that's not necessarily too well known, and even developer and even people were talking about them when you mentioned this game. It's not even that too well known amongst like a cult following like us and from Deadly Premonition. So we're definitely having a lot of high hopes, and I guarantee a lot of those sales had to come from people who probably played Deadly Premonition.
95% of those sales came from me. Let's be honest here.
Well, all your disposable funds went into that game. CH buying like 500 copies.
You're damn right. I'm living on the street for this. So come on, guys. Just at least do one more episode.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, I know that would be something you want to put on the list. That's very much a valid entry into the nominees of disappointing game of the year or disappointing anything of the year.
It actually came out 2014, but I'm just saying biggest disappointment 2015 was that they still decided not to continue with it.
Absolutely. I mean, another cool category I think we may have done before in the past. It would be cool. It would be cool to put in a category maybe games we enjoyed this year that didn't come out this year. Maybe refine that. Something we played that didn't come out this year exactly, but maybe another year, whether it be like 10 years ago or last year, but something that you really enjoyed this year.
It'll be called
that didn't come out this year.
It'll be called the Close Enough Award.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just a gif of a guy like having his fingers outstretched and kind of doing the middle of the road, like maybe.
For the sake of adding it in here, close enough.
Close enough.
I love it. I love it. But no, I really look forward to that. I'll definitely put some more work into putting together a list of my own and kind of comparing, contrasting what we got, and kind of have our set nominees. And we also want to get you guys also involved as well. We're gonna figure out. I'm gonna figure out a way to be able to put some polls up on the site, and then we're gonna go from there. We're gonna also have listener winners as well to the categories that we announce. So you guys get to choose your choices for the nominees as well as us, and then we'll have separate segments here to split up our choices and then you guys' choices. So I think that'll be the way to go.
Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful.
Keep in mind, people, that we are currently always accepting voicemails on the website, BloodThumbsPodcast.com. Feel free, if you want to leave us a question, to mix it up, spice things up a bit, rather than tweet us a question through our Twitters or emailing us at BloodyThumbsPodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a voice message on the website directly, pretty much on any page on BloodyThumbsPodcast.com. You can actually send us I believe about a 90-second question, and we'll go ahead and play that on the show and answer your question. If you guys have any questions or comments or any kind of things that you want us to talk about, it'll all be accessible through the site. We're really hoping to you guys use this feature a lot, because I think it's a fantastic feature for the website, and it'll definitely mix things up and give you guys more of a voice on the show that really like listening to the show. And I think it's just a really great idea. Not a lot of podcasts are really doing this kind of thing and having you guys leave voicemails for us and playing it on the show. I think it's a little really, really cool, unique little feature that we definitely want to take advantage of.
And they better not be booty calls.
Not booty calls?
No booty calls now. I'm saying this right now. Get that through your head.
Well, in case there are booty calls, I'll save them for you, CH.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
We'll put them on the side. All for CH. All the booty calls for CH. I'm saying it loud so Kat over here hears it. All the booty calls for CH.
Tell her to gather her single friends together for me.
Gather all your friends, Kat, for CH. All booty calls.
Thank you. I know she understands. Sacrificing for the cause is important.
Absolutely. And also keep in mind, people, we got CH's fantastic written article, which I haven't read yet, but I'm sure it's fantastic, which I will read. And Jessica Jones' written review and commentary on the BloodyThumbsPodcast.com. Check that out. We get a little bit more of analysis. I know we talked about this before the pre-show, which is not heard by you guys, because it's a little discussion that we kind of do to get warmed up for the podcast. But CH got to dabble a little bit more into his thoughts on Jessica Jones, and is also as a review and a little commentary on the side as well. Yeah,
the review is mostly the same as what we talked about in the audio review. It's kind of the summation of how it had a lot of potential. There were some good things, but ultimately kind of felt a little muddled, a little bit confused. But I also added a little bit of commentary that I've since expanded upon in the original thoughts and feelings on it, because I kind of happen to start seeing people, the different reviewers and different writers, talking about the show and praising it for something that I think is very troublesome, to say the least. And you'll see what I mean. It's the idea of using social standing points of advocacy as merits for the show, and I think that's a little bit dangerous to do in terms of actually reviewing a show. You'll see what I mean once you read it. But those are my general thoughts.
CH gave me a little bit of his kind of summation on this whole on the whole review and his opinions on it, and I absolutely agree 100% on kind of everything we discussed. And breaking news, Cat's writing down how many times to say absolutely and definitely. So if you guys want to play a drinking game at home, feel free to take a shot. And every time I say absolutely or definitely, I think you guys are going to be dead. So I don't think you don't want to do that, because we need the listeners.
Dude, please don't encourage the drinking.
I need to look at the thesaurus. What's another word for absolutely? Let me take a look.
Holistically, definitely. No, you said definitely.
We need. Most certainly. Most certainly, absolutely. I knew it was one of my things that I say a lot. I have a lot of those words that you say a lot in your sentences that you can't really control, because it's kind of a part of vocabulary.
I say essentially a lot.
Essentially, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, that's a good idea.
Essentially, in essence.
I'm trying so hard.
It's hard to speak normally now that you know your own speech patterns. It's like, I can't say that anymore.
Other than that, people, check out that little blog post by CH on the Bloody Thumbs podcast website. I'll make sure to put it up there. I'll make sure to keep it up there, and on the featured content, which everything on that front page is always featured. Looking always forward to add on more to it. More audio reviews, which we've already done. If you guys haven't checked out already, either on the last episode or on a separate kind of video, we did the Jessica Jones audio review.
Oh yeah,
we essentially had a good time.
We essentially had a good time
in discussing that, the ups and downs, the mez, and what the hell's all that good stuff.
Yes, indeed. The good acting. I was about to say definitely. I gotta catch myself before doing that.
Oh, you don't have to. You don't have to restrict yourself. See, it's me. I gotta work on that. I'm preparing for my job interview, so I'm trying not to repeat myself a lot. So I'm trying not to say certain words.
Well, in any case, Damn it, I can't even remember what I was about to say. I have the mind of a chimp.
We have that, and also, if you guys are interested, we have my review on the Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone DLC, which I give my 2 thumbs up. We could have a category as well. Maybe this is not going to apply a lot, honestly.
Best DLC?
I put it up as best DLC of the year. I don't know if other games this year have had DLC. Well, they have DLC, but I can't really...
Hey, come on,
name
Freddy,
other nominees up there.
Jason in Mortal Kombat X. Come on, it's like that goes head to head with Hearts of Stone, man.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I like Mortal Kombat, but usually fighting games never stick with me. Once I go through a phase when I play against people and lose a bunch of matches, I get salty and don't play it again. So Mortal Kombat is a really good game. Don't get me wrong. I forgot about it this year. And also, I hadn't played a lot of it. I didn't even play the story mode.
Yeah,
I just played a lot of singles matches and a lot of online matches with just amongst a group of people I know.
Right,
and it was a blast. I mean, I used Kenshi a lot, and I really got interested in getting into fighting games and maybe to some tournaments. But after losing like 20 times in a row, it left bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it's once you start not so well in in fighting games, you kind of lose the drive to continue on.
Yeah, you don't feel up to par with other people, and it's also one of those things where if you really want to get good at fighting games, you got to put a lot of time into it, a lot of hours.
You got to get good.
You got to get good, and it's just there's always people that have that certain
Je ne sais quoi.
They have that certain je ne sais quoi, and they catch certain things that a lot of people don't. Like I can't get into a lot of the crazy stuff that these people that play fighting games talk about, like the frames per second on a certain hit, all these frame jargons and everything like that. I can't understand it.
Yeah, you need to have
once you crack
like
that formula, you're like a beast. You start beating up on everybody, and you get like flawless fatalities.
Yeah, it is. It's fun when you're doing very well, but it's not so fun when you're beating the guys who are either going with Cassie Cage or Baraka the entire time. It's like, listen, you guys are obviously not doing this for fun. You're doing it more for like, hey, we're going to do very well because we've mastered all the animation cycles of all these characters. Right.
I mean, it's just on a whole other level that I can't ever get my head around. I don't think I'll ever be able to get my head around. I just play as I'll just remember the moves that I remember, and I kind of go from there. I'm not really a spammer, but if I do spam, I kind of stop myself. But sometimes that gets the better of me, because sometimes I could win a lot of matches by spamming sometimes, but I don't want to be that guy that spams.
No, you want
to catch myself in spamming. It's like, oh crap, and then I hesitate, and then that's when I lose. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, it's a little bit more fun when you can vary it up, but in the end, like the top guys spam the same combos over and over again because they know they're always going to win with those wonderful little nuggets of wisdom. But besides that, it's fighting games are hard to get into.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really play too much random online matches. I played a lot amongst a group of friends that I had the game, mainly against Steve Rome. He definitely got me better at it, because Steve Rome he plays a lot of fighting games. He's no joke. He don't play around. But I've bested him at least a couple times out of 100. So that makes me feel somewhat proud right there.
Good man.
So those were fun times. I won't lie. I never got that bent out of shape about it. I never really raged about it. But it just kind of, after like a good amount of losses and then wins in your ratio, it kind of takes a damper on you. But I did the best I could.
And in the end, it does really matter if you try your hardest and you aim to succeed. For me, I cheat as much as I can.
That's true. That's what you got to do.
Yes, indeedy.
So that's what's going on the website, people.
Yes.
We got some things going on. We have more content than I could have ever imagined within the month that at least a month or two. I think we opened the website on like late October, so at least like a month and a half. We got a lot of things up there now. I got
a little bit more stuff working on, including a Halo 5 review that I do want to do a written and video review for.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, any kind of content we can provide the good folks of the podcast listening to us is all right by me. I definitely can. He's writing it down. Damn it! I'm gonna get shocked.
Oh man! No.
I could see myself working on some of my own reviews which is why these are there, because we definitely. I'm just gonna ignore it because the good CH and I, we go ahead and do the best we can to
most certainly
write and review things that we may necessarily not talk about on the podcast.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm certainly taking my time with these words.
Go on ahead.
Essentially, this is the plan we got.
Most certainly.
I said most certainly. I didn't say absolutely. Are you writing a new word down now? What you doing here, Kat?
She's got you, man.
Certainly.
Well, certainly. I'm a victim of circumstance.
So that's what we got going on. Definitely check it out when you get the chance, ladies and gentlemen. And we had a couple of trailer reveals.
Yes, we
I don't
did.
think we talked about the Marvel Captain America Civil War trailer. Mm-hmm. And we also had the like a 50-second sneak peek of Batman v Superman.
Oh yes.
Which is it got me a little hype. I wasn't too excited about it. You can't be too excited for a 30-second tease of Superman walking up to Batman and taking his mask off. That's pretty much it.
It was old man Affleck the whole time.
Who would have known?
You've been scaring away the kids.
He was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
So it's like, listen, that would be great if it was just like an intervention where it's like, listen, dude, we know Jennifer left you. Just we need to talk about this. Come on, you don't need to hide behind these feelings anymore.
Essentially, that's what's going on.
Yeah, yes, it is. He's pouring himself into this work. He's like Marlon Brando level of dedicated.
That's the way to go. So you want to talk a little bit about the Captain America Civil War trailer?
Yeah.
What are your impressions on it?
I'm really excited. This is done by the Russo brothers, who did. It was interesting. Before they did Winter Soldier, which was a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
They did Community, and they weren't really known as action movie directors. And they're like, why the hell you pick these guys? And then it's like, oh, that's why you pick these guys, because they know how to make a genre movie that's smart, that's well made, and that gives 110%. And I absolutely loved Winter Soldier. I think it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, superhero movie of all time. And it is good to see everybody kind of back in the saddle of making Civil War, especially since it's a kind of a big continuum from the Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron, where it's Cap going against the government, trying to save his buddy, it seems, and there's a lot of implication about what's going on, and the fact that, like, listen, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone, so we need something to rein you guys in, because you almost destroyed the planet by dropping a city from, like, millions of miles sky high. So you really need to, dial it back a bit. So we're going to have this accord here that everyone has to sign and be a part of. And it looks like there doesn't seem to be, like, a whole lot of villains. Like, there's no obvious villain. It seems like everybody's on different sides, much like the comic book, where Iron Man is the antagonist as well as he is here. They have Black Panther in there. I'm not sure what's going to go on with him. They didn't reveal Spider-Man, which I'm fine with, because I think he's supposed to be more like an Easter egg in the movie. But besides that, I thought it was really well done. It got me really excited. Unlike the Batman vs. Superman first teaser, where it's like you have no idea what the story's about. You still kind of don't know what the story's about in Batman v Superman, and this one gave you kind of a general idea.
Right.
I'm sorry?
No. I was just saying. I feel like it can go in any direction, which I kind of like. It's essentially a different take on trailers. You don't get too. I like that you don't get too much of a reveal on exactly what's going to be the story beats of the movie. Well, Batman v Superman, anyways. I think I honestly, like, anything could happen. I mean, I feel like there's so many theories and so many things we've seen that can implicate so many different things, and we don't even know. Which I kind of like. I like the speculation of what could be than what is actually on the surface that we're not just seeing completely, which I like. I don't like trailers that reveal too much. It's just there's too much of it. That Mass Effect 2 trailer revealed too much.
Yeah, you were telling me about
that was one of them.
That's the last trailer you let Kat see before she finishes the game.
Yeah, I was introducing Kat to Mass Effect 2. She finished Mass Effect 1, and I was showing her some trailers for Mass Effect 2. I only showed her like one and like 1.5 trailers, but I showed her like the CGI trailer with it was all done in CGI. It was like by Blur. It was a really good trailer, and then we saw a little bit of the launch trailer, which is actually kind of mainly focuses on what the story's about, and also it's more gameplay footage than actual CGI footage. So there's a part in the trailer where I don't need to say spoilers because this game has been out in a while.
Oh yeah.
So it pretty much reveals that you see Commander Shepard and Normandy. They ended up getting attacked by what is essentially revealed later to be the collectors, which which are the pawns of the Reapers. Destroy the Normandy out of nowhere, and in the midst of this action, Shepard managed to save Joker from the ship, and then getting blown out of space and essentially dying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always kind of questioned a little bit. I think they go into some discussions here and there. I don't know if they ever did that in 3, from what I recall, but a lot of it was talking about how whether Shepard was a clone or not. It was always up for debate.
Mm. I think it was supposed to left up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like Blade Runner in a sense.
Oh yeah, they left that up to interpretation, where it's like, whether or not the player thought that they were the original Commander Shepard, or a clone of Commander Shepard, or like a half and half of Commander Shepard, where you're not really the same person because you got all augmented, like Deus Ex. But in the end, it's like, okay, listen, you're Commander Shepard. You need to save the universe. That's what's the most important.
It was touched upon on the. It was on the DLC. It was on one of the last DLCs for Mass Effect 2. It was the. No, it was. I think it was Mass Effect 3. It was the DLC with you getting together with everyone.
Oh.
And kind of. It was mainly more of like
Citadel,
getting to say goodbye to all the characters, essentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it was more like that.
They certainly
Citadel DLC. There you go.
Yeah, they certainly have one of that. I like that one more than Shadow Broker. Actually, I think like that one is just like, oh, it's so fun and funny, and the writing is just so spot on, and they really capture. It's also a good deal of levity, and it's more welcome in Mass Effect 3 because like it's such a dark game that this is just like such a silly avenue of adventure.
Oh yeah, and even in the core game, I had a lot of those little silly moments here and there, but they really like went above and beyond for that DLC. It was one of those things where it was practically a letter to the fans to kind of more show the appreciation of just culmination of all the support and just the overall investment and time we put into these games, because we literally spent like over 5 years with playing these games, and they came out like 2007, and then after Mass Effect 3 it was cool to see how they kind of wrapped things up, especially how everything concluded with the ending, and then putting out the Citadel DLC. They kind of more like it kind of expressed the appreciations and patience for the fans, and how crazy they got, especially with the original ending.
Oh, jeez! I mean, that people were up in arms, and while I didn't think they had an entitlement to a better ending, I still feel like I might have actually changed my opinion from the original, how I feel about it now. But I think it was certainly a better avenue to go down of making it better rather than trying to advertise more DLC when it came out, than like actually try to finish up and wrap up a good plot hole free ending. We definitely talked about that to death way back when that happened. Definitely in hindsight, I mean, I think we were both pretty objective and subjective about it. We were definitely let down by it, but we were definitely in the mind. I think we were the more forgiving.
We were in the more forgiving majority that were mainly just disappointed, and we were also we were just being critical on exactly kind of how the writing took place, especially at the last part. It felt completely different, like someone else.
Felt like disjointed.
It felt like someone else wrote it in their closet, and they were like not thinking. They were not thinking straight. They had maybe too much Jägermeisters. They didn't know what they were drinking. Red Bulls. It was like it seemed like that those last like 20 minutes did not seem like everybody was working together on this.
Yeah, it really showcases how important it is to keep writers at the forefront of the project, and I didn't like the endings that much, but I still I still thought it was a good game, a very good game, that just happened to have a very bad ending until the extended cut made them okay. They made them, it's like, okay, I'm fine with this ending. It's not great, but it's better now that you're trying to explain a bit more. And the
right. I mean, we were also in that camp as well. We weren't necessarily demanding a newer written ending. It was already far finished and out of development. I was really asking too much of them, but for them to even go out to go out above and beyond to put out the Citadel DLC and also
getting all those voice actors to come back.
The Citadel DLC and also adding on to the ending and maybe explaining a little bit more.
Leviathan.
Not necessarily changing it, but definitely adding on to it more. And that was way beyond the Call of Duty, but when we definitely appreciate it, and I still have a very strong respect and good feelings about BioWare. They're up there as well. They're one of the best developers within the last console generation, and they definitely shows. And I mean, I look forward to see what's gonna go on with the new Mass Effect game.
Mm-hmm. Andromeda, and they are still one of my favorite developers out there. I thought Dragon Age Inquisition was fantastic. I really do think that they're great at writing stories, character, and dialogue. I still want to see that Jade Empire 2, guys. Come on, you owe it to yourself to bring it back into the world. But they certainly do try, at least strive for their hardest whenever they're making a project, even if it's within a very short span of time, like Dragon Age 2, where they really didn't have any time at all. Just like, oh crap, we gotta get this on out there.
Yeah, especially with Cat playing this, I'm definitely had a lot of reminiscing thoughts. I'll write it down. Had a lot of reminiscing thoughts on the series as a whole. It made me want to play it again after so long since Mass Effect 3 came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a great game. Mass Effect 2 is most certainly one of the best sequels.
Yes, it is.
To a game.
Mass Effect 2 is incredibly playable gameplay-wise. Mass Effect 3 is incredibly playable gameplay-wise. I wish there was some way to make Mass Effect 1 feel a little bit more like Mass Effect 2, at the very least. Where it's...
Yeah, that would have been cool. It would be cool to see a remaster of Mass Effect 1 in some way, shape, or form.
Could you imagine a Mass Effect trilogy remaster? Where it's like the entire, all three games, all the DLC, with a facelift, maybe even a better ending. Who knows? I'm throwing that. I'm kidding, ladies and gentlemen. I am not asking them to do that again. But I mean, with all these remasterings, that one seems to be up for grabs and very sort of compendium to have.
I don't see that being out of the realm of possibility with all these kind of re-releases and remasters. Even games like GTA 5 and Last of Us being slightly remastered for like the next console, the current consoles.
Mm-hmm.
With the slight or someone changes added to it. I mean, there's a good enough of change to really go out and get it, but not necessarily at a full price. Definitely at a discounted price later down the line. I've thought about that too. I thought about getting GTA 5 for PS4 just to kind of go back to it and see what kind of additions they added to it. I know there's a lot of additions they added to it. A lot more
first person, animals.
Yeah, a lot more music to the soundtrack as well, which I felt like it was slightly lacking.
Yeah,
I felt like a lot of the songs repeated sometimes.
Somebody at Rockstar really likes the indie stuff. Just like, okay, fine, we'll give you a couple of songs you actually recognize. But here's like a one track I heard from this obscure album back in 1968, and the record is lost. Like, here's the song.
I'm more of a fan of actually not necessarily hearing a lot of the maybe more known songs. Maybe like I think they had the Kanye West song Power. It may have been Saints War 4. I may have mixed them up. But I know that they
Saints Row the
had
Third had power.
right. They had that. I'm more of a fan of like the lesser known music. As long as it's good music, I definitely can get into it, and appreciate the music for what it is, and it would open up a lot more avenues to checking out newer music than ever before. I know I've gotten into a lot of newer music through video games as well, and even with like Mass Effect, the first Mass Effect, they had that great song at the end that from a band you never heard of, and it was like one of the greatest like end credit songs like in a game.
Yeah, because it fit that the sci-fi feel, but also kind of like the synth music of 80s sci-fi, and like
right,
because like sci-fi went through that kind of phase of being grittier and being dirtier and less like space opera-y, kind of with Serenity and Firefly, Farscape, even Doctor Who to some extent, where it's not this kind of grand, beautiful sci-fi that Mass Effect was, which was a breath of fresh air.
It was quite a breath of fresh air. That game changed the way I looked at video games. It blew the socks. It blew the socks out of my shoes. Wait, it blew the socks out of my feet.
It's so powerful that it actually blew the socks out of your shoes, but it kept your shoes on.
I know.
That's how powerful it was.
That's how powerful it was. I played that game so many times, and I played Mass Effect 2 a lot of times. I don't think I played 3 a lot. It definitely left a slight taste, a light bitter taste out of your mouth by the ending.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, it was like that whole series was like 99% good, other than just that one inconvenient choice in the direction of that ending in 3. But beyond that,
right.
it was all a fantastic ride.
Yes, it was.
And I'll never forget it. Just like it was one of the first games as well. I mean, to even implement like importing your saves. The game
it was
really
very
doing
important.
That.
Yeah.
It was quite important, and then we cherished those game saves. Normally, other games when you play, you just delete everything and don't think about it again. But we had to cherish those game saves we had. We had to make sure like if something happened in our 360, we had to figure out. We had to like pull out the claws of to bring out the jaws of life to make sure that save was okay.
Oh my god! Yeah, I was terrified when I thought I accidentally deleted my Mass Effect 2 save. when importing to Mass Effect 3, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to have to do this all over again. And it didn't dawn on me until maybe my second or third playthrough through Mass Effect 3, but it's like, wow, there's so many little things that keep popping up, and little choices, and small bits of dialogue that you had influencing in like the first game. And this big sense of continuity, and it really weaves together just this impressive narrative, and all these different characters, all these different choices, and your choices are surprisingly varied. Like the overall macro ending of 3, notwithstanding, but you can lose all of your squad mates. You can get rid of. You can make like huge decisions for your species or other species, and it does feel like you have this larger influence than I think a lot of people gave credit for, and it really is a pioneering game in terms of being able to save between saves. Because like even one of my favorite games this year, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, they don't really have a save state. They just have it as like, oh, you have to choose between these 6 different options. And then it will generate those types of storylines and characters, whereas the other ones you actually have to go through it, save, if you're not choosing a pre-made save state.
Right.
And so things like convincing Tali you're really you because you helped her with her pilgrimage, and that was only available if you actually went through the first game and you found the data that helped her on her pilgrimage. Like that like little bit of just like character interaction is just so awesome. And even with Dragon Age Inquisition, where they continued that they have an entire website dedicated to crafting a background for the world and your character and the save state, or they could just like make one on the spot. And BioWare, they really deserve their money, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much to it, and it wasn't even like, because I know that they made it pretty easy for sure, like to get people into the series, and they also gave you some opportunities to also kind of make the bigger choices when you go into a new game, especially maybe if you lost your save.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like, even some of the big changes you do make that you do end up choosing on, it's not even like the tip of like all the other little choices that you make that all like pile together and into the next game, and then you'll see the references and you'll see small little callbacks to certain choices you made, even some ones that are even so obscure that you won't even get to fully experience because it's going to be because you don't have your full save.
Yeah,
and that's how the full save was so sacred. It was so sacred, like a newborn. You had to take care of it.
Okay, so what is your favorite story from Mass Effect that continued on throughout the three, throughout two of the games, or all three of the games, or what? A line of continuity that continued because of your interaction.
Oh, that's a tough one. I know that there's quite a few of them. It was definitely the relationships between some of the characters that you definitely made in terms of the character interactions. It was. I know there was a lot of all the small things too. I'm trying to remember. I know that definitely the ones that that came to mind were definitely the conversations you had with Conrad Werner.
Oh my gosh, I was that.
Those
that
were
was
like the most consistent since the first one to the end.
Conrad is just the ultimate fanboy who wants to do right, but he's kind of stupid, and so you're like, if there are that or the reporter, Ilani.
Oh right, with the long name.
Yeah, like Simon Bill Ilani.
Kalisa Masalani, Western Menu.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was on my mind.
I just made it up, but I sounded like it.
And it just in each game she gets progressively more aggressive. And like in the first one it's like, oh, like tell us about like what you're doing and how the aliens are impeding you. The second one's like, yeah, they said you were dead. Like what are you doing out here? And the third one just like, you know what, screw you, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Yeah,
she started out like a little news reporter, and then slowly started to become TMZ.
And she's one of those characters that you love to hate, but you also can understand where she's coming from, especially with the third game, where she's very emotional because of the toll it's taking on everyone, because this is the war game. One of my favorite subplots of the Mass Effect series was Char. It was a Krogan Char who was in love with an Asari, and you can either choose, you can either help him pursue the relationship or say don't pursue it.
All right.
And they start a family together. And in spoilers for Mass Effect 3, what I chose is that I helped them get together. And then in Mass Effect 3, it's actually a pretty sad subplot where you find the last voice message of Char, and he dies in battle. And he's saying that telling his wife and their who's pregnant with their first child, like, it's going to be all right. And it's like that one really got to me. I was like, wow, that was like I like they pay so much focus to the small stories too, where in the humanitarian wing of the Citadel, where they have all the displaced species and colonists, they have one particular Turian talking to this girl who is like waiting for her parents, and the more you go back and hear the conversations, it's pretty obvious that they're dead. And so the Turian is like trying to think about what to do and what to say, and how to comfort this girl, and it's just very like small writing like that is why I love BioWare, because they're focused on every bit of writing. Like there's nothing that's really throwaway.
Yeah, there were a lot of those that I noticed, and even those examples you brought up to me, I had not even noticed that they were in the game, because there's so much going on, and even you end up overhearing conversations, or reading like emails or any kind of like finding some kind of data file that has information about such and such thing that you sometimes you get some of these little callbacks to the previous games. It's just an amazing amount of detail in those games, and some of them you'll end up missing, even like those that I ended up missing and I had no idea about, that always end up catching up to you whenever you do those replays, and it just goes to show you just how much dedication they had and such attention to detail that they went above and beyond to put those in there. It just made the universe even that much more special and more lively, that they even had paid attention to those little details. It's just a great series. I love it.
Yeah,
it's definitely a revolutionary series that even at the time when it was coming out, and you were seeing a lot more games similar to Mass Effect in terms of decisions making an effect in the plot, and it is progressively advanced. I mean, up until this point, it's even become more advanced in such a way that with the examples that we've been given with The Witcher 3, and just them not making it completely obvious what the outcome was going to be. A decision you can make in the beginning could have ramifications that end up coming back to either bite you in the ass or coming back to fruition like 20 hours later.
And they don't give you any indication of whether or not.
Which I like. It actually mixes things up a bit, and I never got into the habit of really thinking too much about it. I just figured, and it was also went well with the theme of that lore, because that game's always about about that gray area. Not every choice you make is really good or bad. Not everyone is really good or bad either.
No, shades of gray for everyone, even the bad guys.
They're all kind of either out to look out for themselves, or they have their own kind of morals and beliefs that may not necessarily cross the same path as yours, depending on what you're going to be doing to get to your own destination. With Geralt trying to find Ciri, so a lot of these all these conflicting morals and beliefs end up tangling between each other and lead up to so many different decisions and different outcomes that it's just great to see something so different like that. It doesn't make it apparently obvious, just something like the Telltale or anything like that.
It's even better because once again it's Geralt looking from the outside in, where he's not the really big player in the events of the game's story.
Right.
Instead, he's he's an advisor. He's a bounty hunter at times. He's monster hunter, and the cure-all for inciting incidents for any story, and he is not the main part of the story. It's Ciri. It's King Radovid. It's King Emir. It's these people who are kind of the big shakers in the entire unit. Even who's the kind of fat crime lord that you meet? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
The Bloody Baron?
No. In the Port City.
Port City.
In not Novaria. Damn it! I'm confusing Mass Effect. That would be great if Geralt just went on over to crossed on over a mountain and just landed in the Asari homeworld. It's well, I'm home.
It also even with The Witcher 3, a lot of my habits, which I'm sure some people have in games, that they have their certain habits to do. Even with Mass Effect, I even after playing the first one, I had to train myself to constantly always save at any point I can get the chance to save before I talk to someone, save after a fight. It was like these habits that they instilled upon you that is not necessarily really told to you in the game. It's more something that you kind of pick up on your own, and then it makes kind of the experience a little bit more pleasant, but also it do lose a little bit of sense of a lot of unpredictability, because you always want to. I've been guilty of always having to kind of load back a previous save and make a different decision, and sometimes I don't necessarily stick with the decisions I make, and sometimes other games I like how they don't give you the opportunity to go back in any kind of
No.
sense of imagination.
No, and for Witcher 3, for instance, it kind of, for some decisions, it does matter kind of what you choose, and if you save before you can affect the outcome. But some of them, like the Witches of Crookback Bog, and when they ask you to go kill the spirit in the tree,
That was the most. That one was the hardest one because you had no idea what choice can go either way. It was not made clear at all, which was like the intention, because you're just coming in as a new person in this area. You have no idea what's going on here. Who could maybe tell you the truth? A lot of implications could have gone either way, and luckily the choice I made it seemed like the right decision at the time, and it ended up having other ramifications as well. I mean, I think killing the tree caused the kids over there to die, and then not killing the tree have the kids I think survive, but it ended up I think affecting the nanny there. That was ended up being the Bloody Baron's his wife.
Yeah,
That had a lot of implications.
I mean, because a lot of your choices will come back to haunt you, but it'll be so far down the line that you don't really know which save to go back with. And that's kind of very unique with CD Projekt Red's Witcher games, both this and Assassin of Kings, where you kind of have to make a choice and stick with it if you want to see it to the end, and you won't really know the ramifications until you kind of do it. Where that's a difference in comparison to BioWare or Telltale, where your actions are more immediately apparent.
Yeah, so your playstyle it definitely changes depending on what route you want to take.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It's certainly one of those.
Or Bethesda.
Or Bethesda. Bethesda. That's
another story.
discussion. I haven't even gotten into discussion of me and Fallout 4 at this point.
I will say, yeah, it is.
Are you feeling it? I need to know if this is just me, because I think we're on the same boat here when it comes to
And it's second.
our thoughts on. We're on the same boat on our thoughts on Jessica Jones, where we feel it's not necessarily the grand the grand pedestal of what a Marvel drama TV show can be. We're not necessarily on that boat, but I'm going through that phase too. I haven't played. When I was playing Fallout 4, I got to a point in the main story where it's just they had a twist and turns. There were some twists and turns in the story that I necessarily wasn't too big on. Granted, I didn't see it. I kind of saw it coming, but I also didn't. But I didn't expect them to make it seem so.
Okay.
It made it seem unimportant after you found out. It wasn't. It seemed like it wasn't even worth it anymore.
I don't think I have been to that part of the story. Did it involve Kellogg and tripping down memory lane?
Well, yeah, there was that. I actually didn't mind that.
I did like that.
That was probably like the most different. That was probably the most interesting and different thing that's Bethesda has done in the Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there's never been anything kind of close to living up or matching that kind of interesting approach they took and kind of telling a flashback.
No,
it was like definitely it was definitely the ice. It was definitely the sprinkle on that game. Like it was something I didn't expect, and it was a pleasant surprise. But it hasn't really lived up to that after that point. I've just kind of been doing my other things, doing other side quests, and pursuing the main story, which hasn't been necessarily the most interesting adventure yet. I know that you come to expect that from Bethesda in the main story, not necessarily the most exciting story in terms of the main quests, but I just feel like I don't know when it's going to end. I feel like it's kind of dragging on a little bit. I don't think we're on the same part yet, but I think you'll see it. All I'll say is once you kind of get to infiltrating the the Syndicate, or is it the Syndicate or the Institute? I'm mixing up Assassin's Creed with this. When you infiltrate the Institute, I think you'll have the same thoughts as me. Maybe you'll have a different opinion on the reveal when you get there, but I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of it, and beyond that point, I lost interest. That's all I'll say.
Okay, I have not gotten that far, and I will let you know when I have. But
it just seems primarily my main problem is it just really seems more unfocused than ever. I think, at least with Fallout 3, I never really got to that point where I was really bored by it. I felt like all the other quests seemed more on point, and they seemed more random and more interesting than the side quests that are in this game. Because even though not necessarily the main plot was the most interesting part either of Fallout New Vegas or 3, but at least it was interesting enough for you to at least pursue, in also the same way as you would pursue the side quests as well. Like, you would do some side quests on your way to your main quest that were at least interesting enough, and I feel like there's a lot more interesting characters in New Vegas than there are on 4. I feel like I thought that I would be more interested in like some of the other characters. Primarily, I've been kind of toting around with Piper, and there were some hints of some character progression, but it never really got beyond that. Oh, boo-hoo. No one's listening to your newspaper articles. Boo-hoo.
Welcome to the rest of America.
It's never really progressed any further from that. She's kind of always been talking about how she's trying to report the news and get people aware of what's going on and things like that, but it's just never really materialized beyond that point. It's more of a, I don't know, maybe I expected more travesty out of her, but hasn't necessarily won my heart over in terms of what kind of character she's got going on there. The other ones were pretty interesting. I know the Ghoul character was really really interesting in New Vegas, where Danny Trejo voiced one of the ghouls as one of your companions. He had one of the most interesting stories and tragic stories as well. You got to hear from him. It was probably his best performance was in New Vegas. If you're gonna get some really good dramatic performance, he was pretty good in that.
Yeah, it's from what little I've played of New Vegas, it does seem like Obsidian, or is it Obsidian?
Yeah, it was Obsidian. It was.
They have a better team of writers for this, and while Bethesda did a better job in Fallout 4 than in Fallout 3, I would admit that the characters don't seem as well defined as in Fallout New Vegas. And for Fallout 4, for what I played, it is a better game. It is. I like the writing a lot better. It's not CD Projekt Red, Telltale, or BioWare level of writing, but it's still it's much better than before. Because like in Fallout 3, it was just like, I am talking at you with exposition. This is what you need to do. I am this. Do this for us, and we will give you caps. And this time, they're trying a little bit more subtlety and nuance, and they're trying to make it so like there are kind of cutscenes in the game where, you know, before it would be like real time dialogue trees of just like characters looking at you, or just like events that would happen, and the developers were just kind of hoping that you wouldn't interrupt them by firing your gun at one of the characters to interrupt the scene. But they try to do some new stuff here. The animation, certainly, I like a lot of the animations that they do for the story that are very individual, so they're not just like the cut and paste of Fallout 3. But I honestly I haven't played enough to really give it a big holistic sense, but it does feel like the companions aren't as fleshed out. The tutorial for settlements is kind of odd. in terms of trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. And
No, it was terrible. They didn't tell you anything. I kind of ended up figuring it out on my own. I didn't really look up anything, but I figured it out after kind of messing around with it for a good half an hour. I shouldn't have done that really, but it's not necessary. I never have found it really necessary in the game. It's more of a little side thing, but you do end up having to do that, messing around with it a little bit. And one of the main quests, or some of the main quests, they require you to build like some radio beacons and connect generators to a radio beacon and switches and things like that. They kind of get you a little bit more involved in what you expect in some of the main story quests, anyways, to set those up.
Mm-hmm.
But primarily, it's I can leave it, but I don't necessarily it's like the big. I don't think it's the biggest part of the game. I think they're doing a little bit too much with that, and the gameplay is quite better in the past games. Absolutely.
Thank God the gunplay is better, because you can't do VATS alone in Fallout 4.
No, I don't even touch it anymore. It's not even as good as it was before. I think probably done on purpose, because you could barely shoot. You could barely shoot a big tank of oil without missing in some way, shape, or form in Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
Yeah.
God. It was that bad. Like you're aiming your sights right at the exploding barrels and you miss by a mile. It was that bad. And I could definitely respect the game for the fact that the gameplay is a lot better. Not necessarily the story is slightly better too. It's just I feel like some of the characters aren't fleshed out, and some of the even side quests and main quests are not enough for me to be truly invested as I was in how I felt in New Vegas.
You gotta make your own fun.
Yeah, you gotta make your own fun primarily. That's kind of what I've been doing. I feel like Obsidian had a bit more grasp on story and characters, and that's what really what made Alpha Protocol for me. I bring that game up a lot because that was like one of the very lost gems that Obsidian had put out. Not necessarily the best game. They're not necessarily the best gameplay, but the story was really good. The RPG elements was really good. Everything about it was, besides the gameplay, was pretty good. It was like leagues beyond the gameplay.
It was the universe and characters that you fell in love with.
Yeah, that's what really what kept me continuing and going on. A lot could be said too for story and characters that kind of keep you from straying away from the game and continue playing. And no matter how kind of frustrating or uneventful the gameplay may be, that says a lot about it. That's a perfect example. Like Deadly Premonition was kind of the same way. You had to struggle with the controls a good amount of the time. I even got really good at the controls, even though that they weren't the best. That's how much I was dedicated to seeing how the story unfolded and do side quests involving like the townsfolk and learning more about them and following them and stalking them, all that crazy stuff. All good stuff. That says a lot. Like, story is definitely the way to go.
Story, I am willing to forgive a lot more if everyone has their biases of what they prefer. And for me, if you have a really great story, I'm willing to forgive a lot. And
that could be said a lot for me. There's a lot of games that I give a pass to because they had a fantastic story. Another example, that Game of Thrones game, not made by Telltale. I give it a pass because that had an amazing story.
Man, I never thought I'd see the day where another developer made a game that was better than the version of the game that Telltale made. Because we had the first season of The Walking Dead, and then like another developer, the AMC producers were like, wow, this is really popular. Let's make another one, but let's star Daryl and Merle. And then that one was terrible. And then just seeing oh wow, Telltale has the license to Game of Thrones. I wonder what they're going to do. Oh wait, not much. So the original developers who made Was that one before the actual show took place, or did that one come after with HBO's blessing?
From what I recall, it came out before the show, actually, because it was actually being more based off of the book. Because I remember when it came out, G4 TV was still on, so that it absolutely was before the Game of Thrones TV show. So
it was back in the time of Conan the Barbarian, of when G4 still roamed the earth.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what the name of the developers were?
I'm actually looking it up right now. Is that Cyanide?
Cyanide. Okay.
Yeah, that was the name of the developer.
Oh, good. Oh, gracious, yeah.
I don't know what they've done besides this game. This game came out in 2012. I don't know when the show debuted, but it was more based off the books than the actual TV show. So maybe that had an effect on the quality in terms of the writing.
I certainly hope.
Let me see. Based off the Game of Thrones, the first novel of the book, and also in part also on the novels as TV adaptation. So I guess it did come out in correlation to the show.
Oh, okay.
Actually, as well, but it was like,
was it tangential? Just like, oh, it's also named Game of Thrones, but we're doing more of the story from the.
Yeah, it seemed like it was more. It was more at the time inspired more primarily for the books, but at the same time, the show happened to have began because the show came out. The show premiered in 2011. Surprisingly, I feel it doesn't feel like that long since the show has been on.
Yeah, jeez.
It's been
4 years.
It's been quite a
ride.
It's been quite a ride for the show. I'm really hesitant to see how the newer season is gonna play out now that they're not really following the continuity of the books, because they kind of already caught up to the books. So we'll see how the quality of the actual writing and storylines that precede it will kind of fare from here. Because I feel like a lot of it had to definitely relied heavy on of George R.R. Martin's work, which is really pretty good in terms of especially the big story beats with a lot of the characters.
Oh yeah, the Red Wedding. That was, if anything, they did a damn good job with that one.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of discussions for debate on how it was handled compared to the books, and which was kind of more of a better scene. But each has their own pros and cons between the books and shows. So we'll have to see how the newer season fares. But
yeah,
we'll have to see. I mean, I'm certainly going to watch it.
I'm looking forward to it. And also, while we were talking about games that kind of took the license of the more popular thing at the moment, but making something different based on the original source material, that just reminded me of X2, I think it was called, Wolverine's Revenge. It was like the second X-Men film. And it was for the GameCube, the PS2, and the Xbox, and it was mostly actually based on the comic books and kind of their own rendition of the Wolverine. It almost had nothing to do with the actual X2 movie. In fact, Mark Hamill is the one who does the voiceover for Wolverine, which is, that he actually does a pretty darn good job. Even though it's strange because Mark Hamill's in the game, but Mark Hamill's in the game. Hugh Jackman's not in the game, but Patrick Stewart is in the game. So it's just like this weird turnout of different characters, and it was more crazy and eccentric than the movies, and so that just kind of the Game of Thrones kind of got me thinking, like, if that was the case as well, where they just kind of took the title and the name, but not really the tone or the style of the Game of Thrones TV series.
From what I remember playing it, I didn't really get the sense it was really going for a more closer adaptation to the TV show than anything. I felt like it was more paying homage and actually respecting more of the source material from the books than anything else. Because a lot of the art design and everything else presented in that
That's
game.
something the TV show should do.
Yeah, especially how things have been going with it. We'll have to see. I really hope it doesn't end up being just like Walking Dead. Like it just feel like it's lasting. It's lost its flair since like the first season.
And well, okay, the difference is that Game of Thrones has an end point, and the showrunners know where the end point is. George R. R. Martin knows where the end point is. For The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman has no idea where he's going. He's even admitted that, like, yeah, I have no idea how the zombie apocalypse started. So, if the TV show is really going to be truthful to that, they're just going to be they're going to do what the comics do, and just like have them wander around from place to place. They're like, oh, we found new characters. We make a new home. We fight with each other. Then the zombies come. A few characters get killed off, and then we move on and do it over and over again.
Yeah, they repeat the same story beats every time, and I feel like it's going to end up being like a long-running show. It's probably going to be as long as MASH.
Okay, don't you even tempt fate by saying that, because like you say MASH, and then the universe will say, "What's that? You said The Simpsons?" No, I didn't say The Simpsons. Please.
Yeah, they're making more relevant. Maybe that's The Simpsons.
And it's just like if they're going to be true to the comics, then they're not going to explain the origins of the zombie apocalypse because, well, actually, it's strange because like they have a spin-off show now, even though no one's really talking about that, like Fear the Walking Dead, where it's like, yeah, we're shooting in L.A. because it's cheaper to do than shooting out in the middle of Louisiana, and I'm not very. Telltale's really the biggest part of the. I mean, that first season is the best iteration of that storyline I can think of, because it's not about the zombies, even though like the TV show and the comics was like, no, it's about the zombies, and they don't try to explain them. Anyway, I'm being very picky. I don't.
No. I mean, I agree, man. I mean, that's why I've been watching it for a while. I mean, the zombies are a big part of it, but they're not really the driving force. They don't have personalities. You know, how can you go? You can't really go off a show just of zombies. A lot of it has to do with the human drama and regarding what would it be like to live in this world where it's just you're always on edge and you don't know if you're going to survive tomorrow. That's like really the core element, which is the most interesting.
And Telltale's able to balance it to where, you know, for the first Walking Dead, as well as The Wolf Among Us, but you know, it really helps that Fables, the comic book it was based on, it was very balanced in itself.
Right.
But yeah, I was kind of thinking like, oh wow, the Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands. Boy, I can't wait for Game of Thrones, where, you know, they'll be able to do the same thing they did for The Walking Dead and just like balance the dark stuff with like really good writing. And that's like, oh wait, no, we're actually just doing this as promotional stuff, and we will shove in Tyrion and Jon Snow and Cersei and all. Like for instance, like this is so obviously a game for people who play the TV show, because they have the ending of Roose Bolton talking to Reek, and you're not going to know who the hell that is unless you've watched the TV show. Even furthering the idea, like, okay, this was not intended for people who have no idea what Game of Thrones even is.
Yeah, and to go back to the Game of Thrones game from 2012, it was also kind of, I was reading up a little bit on it. It was kind of more of a. It was like a little bit of a hybrid between the two. It was going off the books, and it was also going off the show a little bit too, as it recently just started a year after this game. A year after the show came out, this game came out the year after the premiere of the first season, and it actually had the voices of the actors from the show. There was only two of them.
Wow!
It was the Lord Commander Jorah Mormont, and it also had Lord Varys in the game as well. Those were really the only two characters that were from the show that reprised their roles in the game.
Well, that's fine with me, because like nobody really.
Yeah, and beyond that, it was just mainly more focusing on like other houses, and it was pretty more loyal to the books in a sense. It was more going off of that than anything else, because a lot of the a lot of the art design and everything else didn't really feel like the show at all. But it also had slight, little remnants of the show through those two characters that reprised their roles. And the only difference is, George R. R. Martin didn't make a cameo appearance in the game.
He did?
He did. He made a cameo appearance in the game as like a maester.
Okay, now I'm definitely gonna have to watch that on YouTube.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I didn't stumble up across him in the game. I wish I did, but I saw a video of it. It was pretty cool.
Oh man, that is too cool. I'm gonna check that out.
I'm not sure if he voiced himself in the game, but I would.
Or if it was just his character model.
I don't remember, but I would like to say he did voice himself in the game. I really hope he did.
that would be. Nothing would make me happier than to hear George R. R. Martin's voice in the Game of Thrones universe and just be like him coming by. It's like, oh, hi, how's everyone doing? And then like every single character in the show just like, no, you die, and then they all just jump up and dogpile. Or better yet, they do the airplane calming the woman down, slapping the conga line, where it's just like all the characters who are about to die in like future Game of Thrones storylines just like line up to beat the crap out of him.
Beyond that, it didn't really heavily rely on anything from the HBO series. Unlike the Telltale's Game of Thrones, beyond that, it used other little assets from the show, like the theme music, but that's pretty much about it.
I mean, it's like trying to do a Superman story without that Richard Donner Superman John Williams theme. Because even if you're not doing like a Game of Thrones based on a TV show, it still feels right to use that Game of Thrones theme.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels right. It just goes so well with that series. It's just kind of stuck with you. And we don't mind it because it's such a great theme.
Mm-hmm.
And it just went well with it. I mean, that was probably the only best use of the show in that Telltale game was the theme music.
I mean, once again, it started off very promising. Just like, okay, it's not going to be about the families and houses that we know, and it's going to be about this kind of side rivalry between these two houses. And then it's like, no, we're co-opting your story into the main story, so really you're just pawns of the main characters. It's like, okay, but we don't know anything. We don't have any investment in these characters. And I know they tried to like include Daenerys and Jon in a very interesting way, but the longer the series went on, it was like, Telltale, you guys need to preface all these characters. Like, we don't understand like the implications or the importance of these characters, or like the fact that it wasn't Roose Bolton, it was Ramsay. Ramsay Snow, who was talking to Reek at the end of the season, summing up all the events that happened.
Right.
And also him talking about, he makes in the first episode, I think he makes allusions to the fact that he wants to take a girl hunting, and that's supposed to be sinister, but you don't know why, and you won't know that unless you read the books or see the show of what he does. And it's just like, Telltale, you guys are better than this. Like I didn't play when I played The Wolf Among Us, I didn't read a volume of Fable before I did that. And so after I had, but they prefaced it enough to where I understood who these characters are, what their roles were, how they fit in the world, what was going on. And it's like you think that would be the first thing for Game of Thrones, because families and conflicts and arguments are very important in this world.
Right, and just to preface it again, I mean, just what this other game did was mainly focus on two characters that you can switch between in certain story moments, and you got to experience the travesty, and also it just involved some of the storylines with the houses as well, and a lot of it was done really well because it really focused on these other characters, and they mentioned other characters, but they never really went above and beyond to showcase other characters directly involved with this TV show in any kind of any way, shape, or form. Nothing that felt as shoehorned as Telltale's Game of Thrones did.
I can understand Marjorie.
I like that one.
Yeah, and I can understand Marjorie's role in the Game of Thrones stories, but not Cersei's, where she's literally just there. It's like, I am the cameo appearance.
Yeah, it was pretty much it, and
Yeah.
you never really saw her again after probably maybe an episode or two, but beyond that, you didn't see her at all in the last one. I actually did play the last episode. I think I may have mentioned it to you a little bit. I did play that last one, and even though it's not necessarily my favorite, at least Telltale is branching out a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with how Walking Dead Season 2 ended. They're especially branching out in a way that there's actually more variations to how your story could end and how certain choices can affect the certain outcomes of dialogue and also story and cutscene and implications that occur. At least they're branching out a little bit more. It's not like you do this choice or that choice, but you still get the same outcome. They're actually branching off a little bit and more variations, so to say. Because I know I definitely had some I know I had some more different things occur.
Oh, did you have sound?
No, I had sound.
Okay.
I was okay with that.
Well, that's certainly a different gameplay impression than I got.
Yeah, there was that. I also heard the same thing too. There was people having no sound issues as well with their game. Yeah, there was the moment. There's the moment there with the
sound. Yes, to sound issues make it sound like, oh, okay, maybe a music didn't cue in at the right time or a dialogue beat skipped. The problems with this game were the sound problems were so massive that you could have played Dark Side of the Moon in reverse, and it would have matched up better than what the sound we got with the Game of Thrones Episode 6 gave us.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate that occurred to you, man. It's even though it did happen, and I don't know if it would have made the game any better. Just especially with everything going in, but I know it was definitely not the best impression as well, especially as something that's going to be your grand finale.
Yeah.
For the season. It was certainly something. I don't know if we'll get into too much of what happened in the episode, but for the sake of,
well, why don't we get into it? Let's get into it now.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. So one of the things that happened with me was the choice I made at the end of the previous episode 5. I ended up choosing, I think, having Asher survive the encounter with the White Hills breaking through their household and their stronghold.
Same here.
And then ended up having Roderick get killed and him going out in glorious fashion.
Yeah, I thought that was a great end to his arc, and kind of, for his character, that fit, especially since right before that he got his little bit of happiness by being able to sleep with his love, at least for one more time before getting killed. And this game, you're planning on dealing with I'm sorry, it's the Boltons, right? I keep mispronouncing the family. It's the Boltons.
There's the Boltons, and then the Boltons are working with, but the main antagonist for them is the White Hills.
Yes, the White Hills. Yeah. And the Boltons are saying, okay, whoever wins the Civil War gets to keep the
Ironwood
trees. Yeah, the Ironwood trees, which everybody wants. And so it's this big army that the Boltons assemble, and the family realizes, okay, we can't win traditionally, so we need to assassinate them. We need to invite them into our home and assassinate them. And then at that same time, you have Garrett trying to protect the the white.
He's trying.
Messing up there.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and also it's not a whole lot of investment, especially for even most of these characters. Besides Asher, he's probably the most interesting character in this game.
Well, he had personality.
He had personality, and everybody else is kind of milk toast. But no, but
I
Garrett,
go for some milk toast right now.
no, milk toast is actually pretty good. So. No, but Garrett is you're following Garrett's storyline, which is one of the characters you play throughout the series. As he used to be the squire for the family. I forgot what the family house is for the people that
The Foresters.
For the Foresters, ended up getting sent to Castle Black through for killing some guardsmen. Because they were being dicks and killed his family. Yeah, I'll take the black, and you killed my family. Oh, that's justice right there.
Oh God! It definitely feels like Game of Thrones. Where it's like even when you commit violence defending yourself, it usually ends up worse for you than ever before.
Yeah, so he pretty much he's taking the black. Things go awry. He finds out something about the North Grove, which seems pretty important to the realm as a whole, as we are slowly introduced, but not really fully introduced to the as the TV show introduces the White Walkers. I guess people who become resurrected, but not I don't think you see a White Walker.
Oh yeah,
maybe once. I don't remember.
I think at the end at the episode you do face off against some White Walkers, and you make the decision as Garrett of Garrett, trying to take care of Cotter, who's your brother-in-arms, who decided to come with you and show you to White Grove.
Your brother-in-arms,
North Grove.
The North Grove. Your brother-in-arms that was with you at Castle Black that turned out to be a wildling that ended up joining the Castle Black as one of the Night's Watch. So
I also gotta. I think they really need to also explain why the wildlings are such a big threat.
I know,
besides not having a king.
I know, right? Like it's crazy how so much emphasis is put on the wildlings as just being the scum of the earth, and also
they're the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. It's like they're crazy, they're rabid.
Pretty much. I mean, and that's also one of the slight problems with it. It may also be just due to the ignorance of the kind of how the characters are written. Because I felt that same way with just how people were reacting the same way on the TV show, especially at Castle Black, and how everything concluded at the last episode of the TV show. That one was apparent. That one was apparent for me a lot, and that pissed me way off because just how dumb they were to do what they did at Castle Black.
Well, I mean, dumb people.
You have a lot of things to worry about. You got resurrecting ice zombies coming, and you're worried about one guy who betrayed the code of honor in order to protect your asses. Yeah,
dude, I like just that there's this constant battle of like who deserves the Iron Throne and the politics of it all. And I would just like Jon Snow to come, to go into the court and just yell, "We have zombies coming after us. Can we please put this aside for 10 minutes and just deal with this?"
Right, and so we had that moment where you pretty much backtrack into the moment with Cotter. You pretty much ended up making it to the North Grove and meeting up with some other. I believe it may have been wildlings or some other kind of other societal group that are kind of, I think, beyond the. I don't think they're beyond the wall somehow. Some other area.
They're kind of beyond. Yeah, they are beyond the wall, but they're more to the east. It's like they try to figure out like, okay, what's an area of this map that we haven't explored in the books or the TV series? Oh, okay, here's the North Grove.
Right. I don't think they're wildlings because I remember they brought up about not trusting Cotter's sister because she's a wildling, but I think they're rights or something like that. I forgot what it's called, but they're like what?
They're the bastard children of the House Forrester, or they claim to be.
Yeah, the bastard. I don't remember who they were referencing because I don't remember who they were referencing.
Oh, they were referencing
Well-
the father of the Forrester family who died in the first episode.
Okay, now I remember.
Yeah, I had to do more explanation than the game did.
Yeah, I know. The one time they don't do a lot of exposition, and when it actually is needed, because this game came out like last year, like late last year, and it's been like it took them almost a full year to finish this series, and it was only like 6 episodes.
Why?
Because they were doing other things, and they knew they had a lot of things on their plate, and in the game, the game doesn't perform well sometimes. Even on the PS4, is a little. I guess the frames drop a little bit, and the art design is just kind of caca.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
is
really good.
It is so weird because they kind of have the character model eccentricities that they've had for Walking Dead, Tales from the Borderland, and The Wolf Among Us, and those work because they're comic book versions. And so they're slightly off-kiltered, but that also fits with the environment surrounding them. And so you're able to say, like, oh, okay, these are the characters, this is what they look like. But with Game of Thrones, they're trying to be very serious and real, so the background is like a painted background, and then the character models are kind of this semi-cartoonish look that don't... It's kind of like having Don Corleone in Toontown. It's hard to enjoy either element when both are present. And it doesn't really... It's kind of this very ugly-looking combination.
Right, and it just doesn't stand out, and it doesn't really look very pleasant either. And it's just, I feel like this is a game that could have came out on like even around like the PS2. And just the art design is the art design is just not good. I mean, even the draw distance, when they try to do something, when they were trying to pan out to like the mountains or anything, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah,
it's just like a very poor attempt, like a Microsoft Paint sometimes.
You had better believe it.
And it's just that bad. Like, and this is coming from a developer that they've made their bread and bones to kind of stand down in terms of like their art design and kind of character models. Although they're not the greatest thing ever, even with the other games that were successful, but at least they made it work with the limitations, and I'm sure probably budget they had at the time when these games were starting to come out, like Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. But they made it at this point. I'm sure
it looks worse.
It looks worse.
The background's worse than The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, and it's like, what compelled you guys to do this? And it just does not look very good. The character models are fine if the environments weren't so jarringly trying to be realistic.
Mm-hmm. And so these are.
So yeah, I'd recommend it.
No, I was trying to get back on track where we left off in this kind of recap, but. Yeah, pretty much meeting other people that North Grove, apparently bastards of the Lord Forrester that passed from the first episode. They seem to have the same abilities as one of the other characters on the show, that they can take over animals or other people. They have that feeling, they have that power, that to be inside like another animal and feel what they feel, much like Brandon Stark has. It's kind of like that.
And Mira, who is the Forrester lady who is representing the family at in the King's Landing, the political hub, has to deal with Marjorie, who is not being very helpful, and so she's trying to find her way to help her family as this war is coming on, and then she realizes that she is being betrayed from someone she thought she had trusted before, which was the equivalent of a senator, a lord, and he's... Right. For me, in the end, she's arrested for the murder of a guard, and and so there's two endings to the story, where it's either she says yes to the Lord's advances and agrees to marry agrees to marry him. And he just wants to marry her to have children and also take. Damn it! What are the trees called?
Ironwood.
Thank you. I need the Lorax here to explain me because he can speak for the trees.
I think primarily just for I think weapons sake or shield sake, something like that. They depend on the Ironwood and no, that was one of the things too. I was kind of half and half with Mira. I kind of wanted to like her, but also it just the way that everything kind of panned out, especially the choice I made, because I felt like didn't necessarily want her to go through the same path that maybe Sansa went to, with having to be forced to be wedded off to someone and then having to deal with all that kind of BS that comes along with it, just for the sake of her being alive. So I went the path, and I kind of didn't expect it, but I did expect it. I chose not to marry the guy. Yeah. And then the episode kind of ends off with her getting her head chopped off. I thought something was going to happen where it left it on a cliffhanger, but nope. Her head came right off. It was like, whoa.
They pulled a Ned Stark at the end of that. Just like, yep, she's dead. It's not like a last second save or anything like that. And they have some morality play of how you choose to die, whether you are defiant or whether you're kind of resolved in death. It didn't feel that engaging. I mean, it
wasn't too impactful, but I was a little bit surprised that they actually that the implications of my choice actually had some effect. I didn't have the effect that I expected, because I expected it to be. I expected somebody to come in and at the last minute to help to save her or something, or to have it cut off in a way where it was more of a cliffhanger than anything else.
Right.
But they kind of took the route of the show and made it seem a little obvious that the choices you make actually kind of have some effect, and it's a lot like the Game of Thrones show. Maybe you're starting to like somebody, or you're not starting to like somebody. And some people, the morally good people of the show that you would probably consider to be kind of the people that kind of had the worst of it, the people that have the most worst of it always end up dying on that show or in the books.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of there in some way it was in line with the way the books and the show works, but I don't know. It just wasn't engaging. That's all it was.
The odd thing is that she's not, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter if she's the most moral or not, but I didn't find her to be that interesting of a character, whereas out of all of them, maybe Roderick and Asher were the most interesting right off the bat, because of course you have to have taken player interpretation of the characters into effect, but even with The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead and Tales from the Borderlands, you got a general sense of, actually a very good sense of who these characters were and how they're written, even when they don't have audience choice woven into their dialogue. And you understood kind of where they're coming from, what they want. With Game of Thrones, it's kind of wishy-washy, where Mira, you didn't really, because that one was a lot of audience interpretation. She could either be dedicated to the house or dedicated to her family, and then when she would go sneak off to do something for her family that would go in against the idea that she was betraying Marjorie. And so it's very odd that her storyline, and that's kind of the same thing all over, where no one feels really defined except for Asher, but that's only because he's really out for himself and his family. And it just his iteration of what's the best version of that for him. And then Roderick, which is him trying to save the house from these forces and trying to figure out, what do I sacrifice, what do I compromise. That's interesting. Garrett and Mira, not so much, because they're just trying to, Garrett is just going from A to B, trying to find this place, and then some things happen. And then Mira is just very confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just mainly a combination of just not being too invested in the characters. Didn't necessarily leave a huge impact on just kind of what happened, and it didn't feel all that it didn't feel all that worth it to invest that much time into the character at the end, and have it not really work out in your favor in the terms of the choice you made. It just seemed like the obvious choice, I guess, was to marry him in a sense, but it just didn't seem like the right thing to do, and because of that, you end up paying the price for it, and left kind of just left kind of unimpressed or kind of unimpacted by it. It's just a combination of all that. If it had more character development in a sense, it probably could have had more impact for sure. I mean, a lot of these kind of lackluster feelings we have for it, and especially with the way that the characters ending up having their stories ended, it just a lot of it has to do with just how they're written, and not enough characterization to really have a huge lasting impression on you.
You know what I'm thinking of in comparison, where in The Wolf Among Us, it's one of the subplots is kind of the romantic tension between Bigby and Snow White, and that's obvious no matter what type of playthrough you have,
right?
And that's a part of the characters. You don't really get that sense of definitive character traits here, where for at least everyone, even Roderick to some extent, but not Asher. But it's Garrett and Mira and Ethan, and you're just trying to figure out kind of what these characters represent and who they stand for and what their general ideologies are. Because in Tales from the Borderlands, they have two different protagonists, and they have to split time evenly, and you still get a sense of who these people are, where they've come from. How Reese is more of kind of an uptight, white-collar businessman, and Fiona is a con woman, and she'll do both will do anything to kind of get ahead, but kind of they're different variations of that, and that's obvious. Here, you're going between so many protagonists, and none of them really feel that fleshed out, or even that getting a good idea of what their archetypes are supposed to be.
Right. Not a lot of them are fleshed out, and a lot of the traits can sometimes not necessarily be well defined. It just doesn't seem. It seems like they could have had a bit more consistency with the traits to make it a little bit more better. It just seems like it can go either way depending on what you choose, and sometimes what you choose doesn't always really go in line with what they have in plan for like the main story arc, especially with what occurs with losing the trust of Marjorie for some reason, and her getting
no matter
upset,
what,
getting upset over anything really. Anything I do, she's gonna get upset about it. So I can't win.
There's a point where there almost seems to be like a confrontational element of like, I can't ever please this woman, because it's like in the first episode she tells you, no, don't support me, I'm playing the Game of Thrones, and like you have to appear neutral and beyond your affiliations of love to win. And then in like the 6th episode she's like, you didn't support me, get out.
Right. Even small things like I think you take her key and you give it back to her, but it never really has any other effect other than that.
Oh gosh,
there's no callback to it ever. I mean, you just give it to her and that's it. I don't understand.
It's like, what happened to the rabbit? I don't understand. Like, just the key. I didn't take the key because I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get on Marjorie's best side no matter what, and it didn't matter. Nothing matters. It really is Game of Thrones. It's all depressing and nothing matters.
Which it is kind of in the sense of the show, but it seems like it just doesn't correlate as well in game, and also it doesn't help that the writing isn't that good either. That's what kind of made it even the most disappointing about this series by Telltale. I think they try to do too much with the tying it in with the show, and also the writing wasn't that good either, and everything seemed rushed. And even though they had so much time, it seemed like it was rushed, and they didn't put all their kind of time and investment as they should with every other game they put out. It just seems like this is just kind of like a quick little
Cash.
paycheck. That's pretty much all I felt.
I felt the same way, and I feel it's even more so because they didn't wait for audience reception at the end of the episode 6, because they got a second season coming. They literally just like a couple days after episode 6 release, they said, "Okay, we're working on season 2." It's like, wow, you guys obviously decided to do this before any of the games came out, and it's obvious since this episode 6 ends on such a huge cliffhanger, because you have House Forrester falls no matter what you do.
Yeah.
It's the North Grove. Garrett's still in the North Grove.
Yeah.
And he's just still there. Like, nothing changes. It's just like, okay, Cotter's dead, so it just kind of depends on what you do with him.
Yeah, I cut out his chest and to cut out his chest to end his pain. Either way, he still would have ended up the same way as not being alive. But I guess it just depends on what you do. And honestly, I just kind of chose it for the hell of it. I really didn't understand fully on. I have no reason to trust these people. Just for the sake of the command or whoever told you about the North Grove, for the sake of just going there and seeing how everything plays out there, I really have no reason to trust these people.
Yeah, you're given the vaguest instructions possible.
The vaguest instructions and the most vaguest ritual I've ever seen in my life.
It's I would even the universe of Game of Thrones can't give the characters context on what they're doing.
It's crazy. It's just one of those things where a lot of things culminated into this kind of being the most lackluster installment of Telltale's games, and it could have worked. It's just the writing wasn't there, and it just wasn't done as well as it could have in terms of the presentation and just the overall writing. I think some of the performances were decent. I don't know why. Maybe I just noticed this with the recent episode, but it seemed like Garrett's voice actor was really folding it in this one.
Oh, jeez, yeah, he was like, oh no,
you say it up there. I could say it.
It's even, and the only plus side of the music and sound effects cutting out is how just uninspired a lot of the voice work sounded in the ending of episode 6, where it's just like, I killed you, and then it's a lot of it does. End of episode 5 of The Walking Dead, where Lee says goodbye to Clementine, or episode 5 of The Wolf Among Us, where you finally have Bigby taking on the Crooked Man, and then you don't get that here. You don't get any real sense of closure. You don't really get like an end of a story arc. It's just like, oh, okay, we're waiting for the next thing. We're not even gonna try to make this a standalone.
Right. It's just a lot of things in place that just kind of went against the game, and yeah, I mean, it's just it is what it is. I just kind of wanted to wrap that up, and
yeah,
I guess to wrap up our thoughts on it, there was that with Garrett, not a whole lot of explanation, and kind of any idea where the hell they're gonna go from there.
It's gonna burn down the first episode. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no idea where you're gonna go from the Mira storyline. I guess just you're not gonna get any context at all, because you're not following her anymore because she's dead.
We'll follow her severed head.
Follow her severed head and see where it takes us. Maybe do a Never Dead situation and just start moving our disembodied body parts around and see where that adventure takes us.
I'd pay good money to see.
I would, and then play pranks on the guards with just kind of having your floating head and scaring the shit out of them.
I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
And there's that, and also see where it goes with the whole House Forrester White Hills.
It's either Roderick or Asher who survives, and
Asher gets really badly badly injured and then get taken away from the battle through horseback by the maester. Helps him up with me anyways. And I actually let the mom get poisoned. I don't know what you did with that one.
I let the mom get poisoned.
You poisoned the Lord Whitehill, and then or you can attack them.
Yeah.
Both seem like good options. It seemed like either way it's going to turn out to be.
It's a bloodbath.
Mm-hmm. So I chose the poison option, and then he didn't want to drink it, and then the mother ended up drinking it just for the sake of keeping appearances.
Yeah, because he was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to drink this unless you drink. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I'll do it.
And they both she sacrificed herself, so that was probably...
Yeah, well, she was willing to do it. I was like, okay, this is what you want.
I didn't want to stop her.
And it's like, you listen, you killed so many of our family that we don't even care anymore. Just like, we are making sure you guys suffer if it's the last thing we do.
Yeah, and and he also had a little conversation with the daughter of the Lord Whitehill, where she was talking about, forget about my dad. He means well. He's just he goes about things a little extreme. Like, he killed my brother, my dad.
Listen, like yelling at somebody because their neighbor's dog pooped on the lawn. That's extreme. This is madman level of how you act. She's surprised when you turn on him. it's like I trusted you. It's like, bitch, are you really gonna say that after how much misery your family has inflicted upon us? Like, why in the world are you even supporting these people?
Yeah, that one was a little weird too. I know she meant well, but she couldn't honestly expect me not to have some kind of retaliation after all this. I mean, anyone. This is not like a little grudge. Like, you took my lunch money. This is like family members getting killed left and right here.
Yeah, good God! I don't even know how to. It feels like they had to be written kind of so broadly to incorporate player choices, where like they had to be like act in a certain way to justify themselves. But it just feels like because they're so spread out, it doesn't feel natural.
Right. And yeah, beyond that was pretty much the cliffhanger. Everything all goes to shit, and
as is the case with a lot of things Game of Thrones related.
Right. It all doesn't go well, and Asher ended up being really brutally injured in the battle, and ended up getting carted out there by horseback. And just everything went bad, and then that's kind of about it. There's no
finality.
There's no finale. It's just another cliffhanger, much to the vein of like what the Assassin's Creed series has been doing for like the first, second, and third games. They're leaving you off on cliffhangers.
Yeah, I don't even understand why they even ended the season here. Why don't they just like continue it, and just like not finish it now?
Yeah, it was a terrible ending. It didn't feel like a finale.
No.
And they ended it for the sake of ending it, just for them to put out another season and comp you another maybe $25 for the season pass. And
oh god, yeah, here we go again. But if Telltale really wants me to invest in Game of Thrones again, I'm going to wait until all of them are on sale, and I'll wait for the reviews, because honestly, this is I'll never get fooled again. Yeah.
Put the David Caruso glasses on.
Oh yes, I have absolutely no illusions that this is going to be. I will not pay for a season pass of the next season of Game of Thrones unless there's actually very good reviews for every single episode of that season.
Oh yeah, I don't plan on doing it either. I have really no reason to do so. It did not interest me after the second episode. It just did not live up to any of the expectations that we had and what we were talking about for months before when it was announced that they were doing this. It just, a lot of it was just just all lackluster and very disappointing. I really have no reason to play the next season. I'll just have to kind of maybe skim through it, maybe watch some Let's Plays and kind of summarize my thoughts from there without having to
maybe watch the
anything.
2012 game again.
Maybe I'll play that again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it for me. I don't. We're gonna kind of wrap up that.
Yeah.
Wrap up that ending with that episode and kind of move forward to see what happens from there. I'm not even sure what they're planning on, what they're up to what they're up to now.
I don't know either.
From here.
Yep.
Who knows? I want another Wolf Among Us too.
Not me.
Yeah. That.
Yeah, that would be awesome to have another Wolf Among Us. But yeah. So, Game of Thrones, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, same here. If you get the chance, probably watch some videos online and kind of summarize your thoughts on that. If you really have to see what this is about, I would definitely watch maybe some YouTube videos online. Even then, you probably can make some other better use of your time.
Yeah, you could definitely write a better ending.
Right. So we'll see what happens from there. Beyond that, is there anything else that you want to discuss here further? I know we're kind of nearing on the 2.5 hour mark here, and it's getting late over there. So I just wanted to see if you had anything to summarize here from there.
I'm all good. I'm all excited for the end of the year for the Games of the Year retrospective, but I'm all good.
Right. Well, that's glad that we got to discuss some various topics just regarding a little bit more in depth and definitely more what you got written down for the Jessica Jones review on the website.
Oh yes.
Also kind of our thoughts a little bit, summarizing kind of our love for Mass Effect and a little bit more of Game of Thrones and our feelings on the Batman Superman teaser that we're going to get a full trailer on this Wednesday on the Jimmy Kimmel. I'm not going to watch it at that time, but I'm going to. So we have that, and also the Captain America Civil War. So by the end of this episode, we've jotted down. Kat has jotted down because she likes to bother me on this. We have written down a total of 19 absolutely's and definitely's by me. And
nice.
So that's good. I think that's good for 2 hours and 21 minutes. And I had said this 19 times. I think that's good.
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty good.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Absolutely. Certainly. Necessarily. Woo!
Oh my goodness. It has been a pleasure. And it's also been interesting trying to remember not to say my favorite word over and over again, which is in essence.
In essence? Oh,
in essence. I love saying in essence.
I do recall that word being tossed around here by you. That's a good one that you bring it up. But it's a good. I mean, I'm going to start using it, and then you can use any other my crutch words. So we kind of mix it up a little bit.
You got it. Absolutely.
I think we talked about that a while ago, a long time ago, about some crutch words we had, and it was different back then than it is now. But yeah, that's astounding. I hope you guys are alive. If you had 19 shots, if you guys were playing this game with us, this absolutely,
yes,
definitely, and certainly and necessarily game with us, and Jesus Christ. I think Jessica Jones would probably still be alive right now.
Oh, jeez, that I think that would be the case. It seems like she would drink that much.
I don't even think she'd be buzzed around these amount of shots.
Oh, good gracious!
But it's been a fantastic episode, people.
Yes, it has.
We talked a lot, not about a lot of things, but we talked a lot. We got some good things covered, actually. I won't lie. We had some good things covered. We have a lot of things to expect and coming out soon on the website and also in the podcast realm that we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to say it. That we like to do. We're going to be doing our roundtable into the year discussion of the year in gaming. If all goes well, we'll be able to get some fantabulous members
Good-
of
good save.
of the BGB clan, or maybe some listeners can participate. Maybe Steve Rome, who he was a very long-lasting listener.
Yes, he has.
We were very familiar with Steve Rome. He's won many prizes from us.
Yes.
There's no one participated besides him.
Well, we shall see.
Well, we shall appreciate it. I like Steve Rome. He's a good guy. I'm sure he has some insight on the year in gaming. Maybe Tad Gibby and Stanley Kubrick. He actually had a recent comment from him on the Bloody Thumbs YouTube page, so it's good to see him back again and listening to us. We haven't heard from him in a while, but it's good to remember him by name. Like, from the good old Spill days, he would always be sending us questions every week, so it's good to see you again. Still continue to listen to us.
I was about to say absolutely.
Those are common hard words not to say. Yeah, I gotta look at it. I'm gonna look at a thesaurus, see what I can find for these alternatives, and I'll be back next week with some alternative words.
You got it. And you can catch us on Twitter. I'm at ch_Gorog, and we have Splinter47 here, the man, the myth, the legend himself. We're on.
More of a man than a myth, but I'm good with that.
No, I don't believe you exist. You're just a myth.
No, a lot of people thought you were a myth because not a lot of people have ever seen your picture or your face prior to Spill going away. You were always deemed a myth and not a real dude. Because you always had that disembodied white head and blue eyes.
I'm actually just a bunch of guys from Anonymous taking over jobs of just speaking for me. This is a voice changer I got on right now.
That makes a lot of sense. As the Bloody Thumbs artwork suggests, we all thought you were just a floating white head with blue eyes. We're more than that, CH.
No, I'm probably less than that, actually. But thank you very much for believing in me.
You're more than that, and check us out on the BloodyThumbsPodcast.com. Check out CH's article.
Yep.
iTunes.
You got it.
BGB.com. I'm still posting. Started to post our podcast on there again because I neglected to post them on there, and I forgot to put them on.
No worries.
But I did put our recent ones on there, so don't take it the wrong way if we haven't been posting on there. But we always want to spread our podcast out as much as possible. I post them out. I post them out on various outlets, so I sometimes forget. There's some other places I should be posting them, so forgive me for that. For I have sinned. And all the booty calls will be directed to CH.
Well, the important thing is that you know where the priorities are at.
Right. And welcome to the chat, Mr. Conviction. Unfortunately, we're about to wrap up the podcast, but we appreciate you tuning in today. If you have a question for us, we could definitely answer one real quick. Beyond that, we have a lot of things to look forward to by the end of the year, and I'm very excited for next year. See what we have in terms of gaming, what's going to come out. I'm actually playing. I'm playing through the new Bloodborne DLC. I did the
old Kings, the old Hunters.
The old Hunters. I've been playing some of that. I haven't made too much progress, but actually making progress in the game involves you actually finding another place that you can rest at, or like a lantern. That's making a lot of progress, because you have to remember, you go through the same kind of areas the same times, because you always die, but you always remember like where the enemies are, and you're more prepared going in, and then by the time you find your next lantern, it's like, oh yes, at last. And then
time to start over again.
It's time to start over again with a new conquest and a new journey to find the next save point, or next kind of lantern area to kind of rest up and level up your things. But it's been pretty good. I really enjoyed playing through that. I streamed it a little bit, and my internet connection is actually acting normal now, so I'm able to stream on a little bit more. I did that. Played a little bit of Fallout, and kind of my progression through Fallout. If you watch it, I think I'll post it on. I don't think I posted it on YouTube, but it's on my Twitch channel. If you watch it, you get to see my live reaction of my of my deterioration of interest, Fallout 4, as you see it come to fruition, and got to a point I was like, I actually yelled, "Damn, this is boring." Well, in a less colorful way, you know.
You've got it. I'll be checking that out. And so shall you, ladies and gentlemen. Please do.
For sure, if you don't care too much about spoilers, but I would, depending on what your preference is, you're more than welcome to check it out at a later time. Other than that, a lot of things going on. We'll see what happens. We'll keep in touch. We'll be back again next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, for another Bloody Thumbs.
Yes, indeed.
And hopefully a more in-depth discussion on the full Batman v Superman trailer, which, as you guys know, I'm very excited for.
Oh yeah.
Call me a DC fanboy. There you go.
No, I'll be honest with you. I did not like Man of Steel at all, but I am looking forward to Batman vs Superman. I hope it's great.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really do. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities they can take this, and I just hope there's a step in the right direction for the DC movie universe, especially with them broadening out and doing the Suicide Squad.
Hell yeah.
We'll actually see where we go from there, and in the progress of filming the new Wonder Woman movie.
Oh yeah, I certainly hope they get that right as well.
Well, we'll have to see where we kind of go from there, and but we appreciate you guys listening in. I'll try to post the podcast later tonight, if not by tomorrow. So keep that in mind, and you can listen to the podcast if you didn't get the chance to listen to it live, as Mr. Conviction will most likely will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that point, feel free to send us a voicemail on the BloodyThumbsPodcast.com, and CH's article is right up on Reddit as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you very much, Kat, for showcasing the article. I really appreciate that.
Well, we'll see how much people we get coming into the site,
and
we're gonna go from there. But thank you guys once more. This has been episode 172 of Bloody Thumbs Podcast. As always, I am Splinter47. I hope to see you guys soon, and take it easy.
I am CH Gorog. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.